Well, hey, Cookster here, and welcome to another video. I'm finishing the bodywork on the inside of my door shelves. I'm also going to try and show a little slideshow. So in this video, we're going from this cut up, hacked up stuff that I had to refab and recut and refab some more and weld in part of the original panel, part of the patch panel, because the patch panel wasn't made right. It was a nightmare. It was a mess to do, but I got it done. There's a weld seam a ½ inch below this crease, so when you weld at it, naturally it shrinks a little bit. So it's just a quick little video. Got some highlights, got some fast forward, got some slideshow. Not a beginning to end thing, but just a little highlight, kind of like a highlight package sort of. Just cause I figured you guys might want to watch it. Anyway, on with the show. So in my earlier videos, you saw me do all the body work to the skins, and I body worked the edges all the way around. So the edges are done, but I never finished inside. What I did do last winter when I was working on the outside, I went ahead and put fiberglass over my welds. There's weld, I weld seam all the way down through here. And of course, this area all in here was all cut up and hacked up and put back together to make it fit. So I put fiberglass. There's actually fiberglass all down in here too, but it's already primed over. Well, this is fiberglass over the weld seam. Had a pretty good little dent right there that was in the door from something. Same on this door. Again, fiberglass down the weld seam. So basically all I have left to do is just skim coat this area right here and get it flat. Not a lot to do. It's pretty easy. I want to get some content out for you guys. They're coming back and trying to stick with me. The Model A, there it sits right there. It's content's gonna be kind of slow for it for the next week or two or three till I get some more stuff done. And like I say, IRL, real life stuff is kind of hitting me at the moment, so I don't have a lot of time. Also, let me mention, my doors are in a bad spot. I can't get to them that great. I got 30 bags of sandblast abrasive down here. I wonder what that's for. Anyway, like I said, this is pretty easy little videos, not a lot to it. I wasn't gonna make this video, but here we are. I'm just gonna set the camera up and mix some filler. And oh, one thing I wanted to mention too, I changed body filler. Where's it at? That Rage Ultra has gotten so damn expensive. It's like $120, $130 a gallon right now, or maybe even more than that. Evercoat, I don't know why you're doing that, but so I switched to this Evercoat lightweight, and it's still Evercoat. It's still good fillers. It's not your neighborhood parts store Bondo brand. That stuff, sands like a rock. But anyway, so I changed filler. Just an FYI for you guys. Let's stop yapping. Let's try to get some work done. Let's go. I think I might have put too much hardener in this. Just not thinking. Hopefully I don't I see a streak right there in the hardener. That's why I didn't get it mixed up good. Don't do that. Don't do that. That's not good. I'm mixing it right there on the pallet or on the door. I hope I don't wind up wasting a bunch of this stuff because I put too much hardener in it. And this is just a skim coat to get it all leveled out where I welded it up. The filler's not deep. I promise you, it's not deep. Yeah. I'm gonna try to go here. That's what I'm going to get. Close Alright, starting to set up, so I'm going to let it harden up. I'm not going to work it with the cheese grater. So as soon as it gets hardened up, I'll come back and we're going to work it down with my air sander. So until then. Alright, I'm going to cut this down with my air sander. Obviously I want to be real careful not to overcut. I'm going to start roughing it in. As I said, I want to be real careful, especially down in here. I'm probably going to wind up cutting this by hand. I probably ought to do it now. You know what? That's a pretty good idea. I'm working this edge down here by this crease by hand. It'd be about damn near impossible to do it with a machine and not tear it all up. So I didn't think about that earlier, or I probably would have put a cheese grater on it. Oh well, but oh well. It's alright, we're going to get it. Alright, that feels like it's roughed in really good. I'm going to turn around and do the other door now. I'm trying to do the other door now, which you can't see, so I'll be back. Alright, I got the edge roughed in by hand. So now I'll cut the middle down with the machine. My first impression as a sanding this filler is it is a little harder to sand than the Rage. So, but I paid $40 a gallon for this, and the Rage was 120, 130. So you do the math. A little bit of elbow grease here. You know, if I was doing this, if I was charging people for it, I would just charge the Rage to the person I'm doing the work for. But this is coming out of my pocketbook, so. Woo! Here we go. I'm working this top edge kind of first. I can feel a big lump right here in the middle of where I wipe the filler. So I'm cutting that down and I'm watching my edge. When I just start to nick the edge up here, I'll back off. I've got a high spot in the middle now, big mountain right here. And I'll cut that down in between once I get kind of the edges where I want them. I mentioned it'd be hard to sand this edge. See how this edge wants to get back up here and dig? So I gotta be real careful about that. This is not an area, beginners should tackle with one of these without realizing you're gonna make some mistakes. Yes, you gotta learn. I understand that, but you don't get mad if you nick into it some. Hell, I might even do it. This would be a tough spot to learn on, to do. And as I mentioned in my other video, variable speed only, whether it's air or electric. Don't do this with a damn wide on, wide off grinder. You'll make a mess. Don't do it, please. You see how slow I'm running this thing? There's wide open. I'm not even getting close to that. I probably ain't running at 25% speed, if that much. It's really slow. I'm starting to cut through right here, and we're a little low in the filler right here, so I may wind up having a little bit of a low spot in the panel right here, and that's not surprising. Factory door, and then I welded on it. I don't want to overcut it, so I'm going to go ahead and block the rest of it by hand, and then we'll see what we wind up with. These areas on the end are going to take some work, so I'm going to work with them later. Let me work this corner here a little bit. It's damn close. This is one of those areas where I had to rebuild it with metal. You know, I had to reform all this metal down here because the patch panel didn't fit with the tooth. And then I had to build it up with some fiberglass to get it back in kind of decent shape. So there is some creative shaping right down in here. I will admit it. I mean, nothing I could do about it. It's just the way this panel was. To get it back into some kind of order, I had to shape it and cut it and hack it and shape it some more. Nothing I could do about it. This is 80 grit, by the way. I'm just working this corner right here. It actually feels pretty good. This is one of those deals where it feels pretty good in raw filler, but you kind of got to get some primer on it to really see it. Although it feels good in filler, it feels nice. It's got a good contour right here. The main thing is to make both sides match. I mean, these aren't like I said, this is not a factory curve anymore, a factory crease. It's all been made by hand. Because of factory stuff, you know, I had to cut it all off and put this patch panel in that wasn't right. So I just got to make them look the same on each side, and then nobody will probably question it. All right, that feels good right there. That's basically ready for primer. Down here. All right, let me sand this corner over here. You know, you can't really see it. I just doing the same step. This is 80 grit. Working down this crease right here. And there's a little low spot. There's filler right here. Oh, it ain't much though. But I can feel it. It is a little bit low. Just right in there. You can see it, but right in there. Little lumpy spot right here. Well, that's not a way to do it, but that's what I'm doing. It might be a tick low right in through here, as I said earlier. I believe I got a little bit of a low spot right through here. Noticing this curve, I'm sanding with this curve every time. Trying to keep that shape. I can feel a little high spot now. Let me grab my spoon. I just want to hit in a certain spot, specific spot. That's why I use a spoon to put right where I want to hit. You know, with the curve back, you can do that. Better, rather than trying to whomp it with a hammer, you're hitting this whole area. I only want to hit that one little spot right there. And that spoon lets me do that. I know you metal shapers call these a slapper, but to us body men, it's a spoon. If I ever start metal shaping, I guess I need to call it a slapper. Actually, I'll buy a real slapper probably, or an actual something, something to use for a slapper. This is an annoying little detail. Spending way too much time on, but yet it's there, so I gotta fix it. And we're getting it. I'm not hitting it hard, I'm just hitting it enough to try to knock that down. I think it's at a point where now I can block it out. Alright, let me grab the camera and I'll show you what we got. This front edge looks really good, feels good. Tiny little ripple right there, but that's one of those spots where I welded it right together. Because I had to cut and weld all this together and fab all that, so it's a tiny little insignificant ripple. I did miss a pinhole right there. Everything in here feels good except like the little low spot I was telling you about is right here in the fiberglass. It's a little low. So I'm going to put a little filler right across this crease right here. This turn here feels good. Other than, like I said, it's low right there. I feel like I'm a tad low right on this crease. Like I said, I don't normally build edges with filler, but a tiny little amount right through here is not going to hurt. Just to make sure that door panel fits with a nice clean gap, door gap. Not door gap, but gap. You want it to look good. All up into here, like I said, I've already done all this previously. Of course, the other door, driver's door, I ran out of filler. So I'll wipe all this and sand all this off camera. Same exact steps as over here. So I'll come back I'll come back for something. I don't know yet, but it's not tonight. I gotta quit. It's getting late. I'm hungry. But for you, it'll be like 3 seconds or 5 seconds. So bingo. Ow! My snapper don't work no more. I hit my hand. And it's anyway. Kind of almost. Anyway, 3, 2, 1, cut. All right, I'm wiping these areas. It needs wiping again, obviously. This area down here is going to be a bit tricky, but it's got to be done. So one of those areas you got a shape, and it's just an odd shape, and it's basically like sculpting with filler, which is a lot of what filler work is anyway. It's kind of like sculpting. Now this area up here at the top, right here, I still feel like it's kind of low. So I'm going to wipe it pretty heavy here, and then come back and work it down. As I mentioned yesterday, I don't build up areas with filler edges that often, or I don't try not to do it at all. But you do sometimes hit places that you just don't have no choice. And this is kind of one of them. And there's a low spot right here that I don't like, that I sure wiped, and I didn't. And it's probably going to come back and bite me in the butt. That's the way it goes sometimes. I'm going to cut a lot of this filler off. But anyway, if I wind up having to wipe it again, then I have to wipe it again. Alright, I am going to cut some of this with a cheese grater. Try to keep the sander off of these smaller areas like this up here. Well, come on. I haven't shown a lot of work on my channel with these using a cheese grater, but I do like to use them a lot. They help you cutting stuff down. And you're not going to machine sand. Like down here, I'll rough that in with a machine. There was no reason to. This cheese grater's gotten dull. What have I done to this thing? There was no need to put a tater grater or a cheese grater on that one because I was going to machine sand it. But here, I'm going to try and block this down by hand and not have to put a machine on it. Damn, this tater grater's screwed up. I done clogged this thing up. I ain't got time to sit here and dick around with it either, so. Oh well, just too bad. There we go. If I can find the edge, it'll cut. You can overcut with one of these, so, you know, take your time. Again, this is something that just takes practice to do, like anything else. That should do it. I don't think the dent's up this high, but we'll see what it winds up. Sometimes these dents will travel a lot further than you think. Ripples and stuff. Now I'm fixing how to get the sandpaper out to sand this, because this is not going to cheese grate. Obviously, it's too rough. And the shape's just not going to do it. It's very, very, you know, it's an odd shape. I did what I could with it. Let me get the sander block out. These little small detailed areas and stuff like this, a lot easier to sand with a small block. Right. That feels pretty good. I think that's good enough. I can hit that with 80 grit now. Let's see how that'll sand down. Let me see if I can get this by hand. I don't run the risk of over tightening it with the machine. So that's something to think about. I really think that's good. I've got one little low spot right there where I went back and touched it with my spreader and put a little line in it. You can't see that, but a little glazing putty will fix that right up. Let me see if I can block this area up here right quick. Alright, I'll move the camera to see if I can show shaping this corner a little bit better. You can see the sand scratches in it from the 36. This is 80 grit. So I'm going to go over this, smooth it up. I'm trying to block with the block, you know, the flatness of the block as much as I can. But on these curved areas, you know, you can't always get them with a block. But I think for right here, we're in pretty good shape. Yeah, nice red right here, right there. I'm going to go much too sharp right there. And doing so, I'm going to increase over the sand. The sand probably moving over. That's what I'm going to do. It's one of those slow to get here. It's one of those slow to get here. You have to look at. Okay, thank you. I should probably start taking off at it, but I'm trying not to put those sand scratches. I'll keep going and take more out of the way. That's good, slow too. I can make it flow a little bit better with my finger. Right in here. A lot of people are going to tell you don't sand with your fingers like this, but in this case my fingers are blocked because it fits the area I want to sand down into. This little curve right in here. Still want to turn right. Now, get that now, you're all the time. I can see the actual line emerge. I don't think so. I'll try to here. Now we're getting that curve. Just sanding it lightly by hand to blend it all in. Alright, much better. Make sure you fit your panels just to make sure they fit. Don't assume. Alright, let me show you something right quick. I've said in some of my other videos, block sanding videos, how you always want to block sand all your panels, even your interior panels. Anything that you want to paint and look good, you need to block sand it. Here's a prime example of why. This is a factory seam right here. That's a weld. That's probably a weld right there. If I had to guess, there's a bracket or a brace or something back up in there. I hit this with my block. See how the high spot showed up and the two low spots showed up? And there's a little low spot even right here. This is all factory stuff. It's been like that from day one. If I hadn't blocked that, I wouldn't have known that was there. This is actually deep enough. I need to put a little bit of filler in there. But the glazing compound I use, glazing filler I call it, will work just fine for this. This little high spot, I'm going to tap it down with a hammer, just a tick. So let me grab my hammer. It's not that high. It's high enough. So there is a bracket under there. I can feel it. Then I'm not really going to be able to hammer that down. I'm just doing it to make the effort. And when I wipe over it, I should be able to hide the fact that it's, one little wipe right here will skim over all this. So, I mean, always block your panels. These panels, especially on the older vehicles we work on, they were never perfect, especially interior panels. I mean, that's like I said, showed up from day one from the factory. If you're trying to do a factory concourse restoration where you get points and it's got to look factory, don't do that. But I'm trying to fix everything, so I'm fixing it. So this is the Dolphin glaze I was telling you about. I started using this set of the Evercoat filler. That Evercoat filler's gotten so damn expensive. And I like this stuff. It's the first time I've used, well, not the first time, this is the first bag of it I've ever bought. I like this stuff. So I've switched and gonna start using this. So if you want to try it, give it a try. Not sponsored, by the way. I'm still learning the mixing ratio on this stuff. I haven't worked it in the hot weather yet. That'll be the real factor when I see how it works in 80 to 90 degree weather. Here it's only 60, so it's still cool. Maybe it's 65 today, something like that. Alright, let's sand this down. I'm going to sand it with 80 grit. I don't know if I mentioned it earlier or not. I like the way this stuff sands. I think it actually sands a little bit easier than the Evercoat stuff. So I did find one little area right here. It's a little bit sunk in from where the filler met the original edge. I'm going to put a little filler in that too, just to block that on up. But I'm not going to show the rest of that. I'm going to fill this area up here that I missed because I gave out a putty and filler glaze. So I'm going to fix that area. I'll fix this area. I ran out, so I got some more pinholes down here. I'm going to fix all those off camera, so when I come back, it'll probably be ready for primer. Alright, I'm back on my interior door shells. It's been a few days. I had to take a break. I was getting burnt out and just tired, and just real life was getting in the way, and I just took a break. But now I finally got my inner panel, lower panel done. Found a couple more dents up here that I feel. I think I talked about that low spot. Now it's just a factory ripple. That's a little dent. I got all this done. I got my corners shaped here where I like them now. I'm not sure if you can see it in the camera, but it's got a good shape to it, front and back. And then I finally finished this door, same deal. Got the bottom panel wiped. Found a couple more dents in the top that I didn't know was there. Got this corner finally made up to where I think it looks good. Reshaped this corner. There's filler in these corners, and I don't 100% like it, but what can you do? It had to be shaped, and it had to be done, so it's done. It's not really deep. It's 1/8 of an inch. It might even be 3/16 in some spots. Plus there's fiberglass under it as well. It's not that deep. That's where it's feathered over top of what the fiberglass is under it. It's not no 1/2 inch deep, believe me. But it had to be shaped. I had to do it. I didn't have no choice. It had to be done. So it's done. Anyway, so I'm about to spray some primer on the interior shells. So let me set the camera up and I'll film that and I'll show it, probably just fast forward it through. And after that, I don't know. I'll be back. All right, here we go. Round number 2. All right, let me show you the corners when they're still wet. Look good. Bottom corners look shaped right. You can see a tiny wave right there where I'm in the blocking, but that'll block out. That's why you block, to get those little ripples like that. Right there, get that out. Again, this one looks good. You can see in the light line how it curves around. And the same thing with this one right here. Curves right around. Nice gentle curve. No big lumps or bumps or, you know, places where the, see if I can do it over here. Not a good light over here, but you can still see it how it comes around in the light line and curves right around. There might be a bit of a wave also. It's hard to see on the camera. There's a bit of a wave also right here, but that, again, that'll block out. That's why you block sand. Block all that stuff out. And of course the dents on top, I mean, they were minor. These topper panels, these top panels are a little tricky. They got a little shape, a little dish to them, so when you block, you got to kind of block with the bit of a dish, or you'll have a place where it don't feather right. That's just a minor thing, but it is a thing. Anyway, they're primed. Alright, so I just got my inner door shells primed. They look good. The areas, the creases here, I had to reshape with some weld bead and some filler. They look really good. You watch me shape them with filler, which I don't like to do, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. And it's not an edge, so you know there's a little bit of filler on the edge of that one where the panel sits in. Which, by the way, I still need to fit my door panels again and make sure they fit. But I've already fit them one time, and I'm pretty certain they fit. I will fit them again, just probably off camera. But these door shells are, other than block sand and the primer, I'm going to call them done. So, yay. I mean, I don't look very excited. I'm just, like I said, I'm really happy to have these things done. Even though I don't look like it, I am. Believe me, I am. So anyway, I'm going to end the video here. I just can't see putting you guys through watching me block sand the primer again. Now I may film it, and if I wind up hitting something I think you might want to see or I might want to show, maybe. But for now, I'm calling this video done. These videos are getting too long again. The bodywork videos, I don't want them to be so long. If I happen to come back and show block sanding the primer, then I will. But anyway, that's it. So I'm Cookster. Thanks for being here. I hope you're learning something. Hope you're enjoying this. Videos are getting a little slower coming out right now because, like I said, I took some time off. I got burnt out. I had to take some time away. The Model A is over there waiting for me to get some work done on it. I do have a lot of stuff planned I want to do now that spring is here. The weather's turned nice. I got sandblasting I want to do both on the cab with my dad's truck and on the Model A. I'm going to hang the doors and get them fit before I tear the front off. So for the next video, we'll probably be hanging the doors. The fenders are still on the truck. I want to get those, the door gaps to the fender gaps, I want to get that worked out before I tear the front end off. I'm going to tear the front end off, get the cab off, and sandblast the bottom here as soon as I can get to it. So thanks for being here. Be sure to do all the YouTube stuff. I'm still trying to grow the channel. We've stalled off a little bit, and that's my fault for not getting content out. It just happens sometimes. I got a real job. I got a part-time job. I do a YouTube channel. I got a lot of stuff going on. So hey, cut me some slack. Anyway, be sure to do all the YouTube stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, notification bell, share it with everybody if you think might enjoy this. And I will catch you on the flip side. Y'all come back now, you hear? Happy spring. There we go. Happy spring, y'all.